we're back with a really serious topic that we need to talk about and process through all these areas here. And it's got to do with the Philadelphia 76ers there. I'm Faz. I don't know. I don't think you're Dr. Nick here. You should be a stats guy. You should be, stats guy Nick, because I
I
need a
feel like
stats guy right now. Okay? I need that stats guy.
multiple personalities, Nick. Is that what we're going for now? We're gonna
I have a question for you.
go for it.
What year did the process start?
What year did the process start? Am I
Google
allowed to look up
it. Yeah,
stats?
I
Am I
can
allowed
see.
to look up stats? I'm going, man.
I can see you like oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know
What
what you're talking about. I'm
was
just
that?
yeah. I know the
What year was it?
brightness on my screen
20,
just changes.
2013, 2012.
So yeah, so I'm glad that you asked this
Yes.
question and didn't give me time to Google it ahead of
No.
time, so I could have looked like an expert.
No.
So it appears that the 2012, 2013 season, they finished a record of 34 and 48, and they kind of realized they weren't competitive. It was at the time that Miami was dominating, Boston was still relevant, and Indy was still there. So the Sixers started the rebuild, and they actually traded their bright young player and Drew Holiday to New Orleans to acquire some draft picks and get that going. And I actually have a really good article, so I'll go through it. So they acquire New Orleans Noel, who had missed the entire rookie season with an ACL injury. So that was a smart stash pick because you get high potential, but you know you don't want him to play this year, so you can keep going. And they got Michael Carter Williams, who's probably renowned as one of the most unique rookie of the year winners because outside of that year he didn't really do much else. In 2014, they end up drafting Joel Embiid because he slipped in the number 3 pick because he had foot injuries. And they also get Alfred Payton to the Magic so they can get Dario Saric, but Saric didn't come over until 2016. And then they actually had Jeremy Grant on the team, but he didn't really do much and then went to OKC. Then they get Jahlil Okafor, which is probably the most underrated number 1 pick that people never talk about because he fizzled out really quickly. He was just a conventional big that could post up, and that was about it. And he didn't last very long in the league. 2016, pretty notable. They get Ben Simmons, and they kind of figure that they're about to take off. And then they go back to back with number 1 picks and actually get
Fultz.
Markel Fultz, who hurts his shoulder.
Correct.
And then in 2018, they surprisingly have Mikal Bridges on the squad, but trade him to the Suns for some other stuff that didn't really pan out. And right when it took off, right when Philly was looking good, Embiid was finally healthy and stringing together games. Ben Simmons looked like a really good player, and they traded for Jimmy Butler. And they only have Jimmy Butler for a short period of time. Tobias Harris had come on board at some point there, but wasn't a big deal because Tobias Harris has never been a big deal, despite what people would want you to think. And the process probably ended there because they made a legitimate run against Toronto, going to Game 7 to lose in the semis.
That was with Jimmy Butler,
And
correct? Jimmy Butler.
and
Yes,
that's with
correct.
Jimmy Butler. And then that season ends. And from what we can tell from Jimmy Butler's very outspoken personality, Jimmy Butler had a strong culture of competitiveness and winning, and he wanted to stay in Boston. And it appeared like either some players were disgruntled with Jimmy Butler's
In Philly,
approach
you mean? In Philly, yeah? In Philly.
in Philly, or he was not chosen over Tobias Harris. And that could be for a multitude of reasons. But essentially, he decided he wasn't interested. He went to Miami, and Philly ran it back. And they were always loitering around that first round, second stuff, and then they couldn't get it going. They trade Ben Simmons for James Harden, and they have a pretty nice run there. But then it dies out in the playoffs yet again. Joel Embiid not healthy, James Harden not able to lead a team on his own. And then they trade James Harden for a collection of Clippers players, but they realize the potential in Tyrese Maxey. Then
Here we are.
they
Here we are.
acquire Paul
Okay.
George, and
I,
we're here. That was a
I,
great recap.
I love the recap. You did reasonably well as a stats guy. Good job, man. But here's the thing. You said just before that that Game 7 conference final, or was it second round? It was the second round where they got knocked out by the
Second
Raptors.
round,
Second
yep,
round, Game 7, that 4 bounces on the rim by Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, Jimmy
beautiful moment.
Butler was still with the Sixers at that point. Feels like a high moment of this whole process situation. But maybe, here's the thought. We're actually just about to reach the apex of this whole process. Maybe everything that happened in Philly here ends up with Cooper Flag. Like, would that be crazy? Like, like just I like right now. You just said it. There, it's a disaster. this season right now should be just a tank job. What's the point? Like there feels like no point. Like, does anyone really believe, even in Philly, let alone outside of Philly, let alone anyone that just watches a little bit of casual NBA, that Philly is a legitimate contender with the fact that PG came across 34, injured already 2 times in like the first month already, has to sit out. Joel Embiid can't get going. Um, Even if somehow they scraped in the play-in, they're gonna somehow knock off the Celtics and the Knicks. Yeah, okay, and sort of the Cavs at the moment are rolling as well. Do you think any of these teams are concerning themselves about the Sixers here because they got Eric Gordon and Tyrese Maxey and got Jared McCain, a rookie? I don't think so. So this season is it should be a write-off, okay? And what comes from this season could be the apex of what the whole process becomes. I'm just saying could be, because we don't know which way the
This
ping pong balls are going to go here. But
so this is wild. This makes me want to jump on this video and write comments about you going to dodgy physical therapists. But what I actually wanted to highlight while you were talking, you had a really important question. You said, "Do they have any draft picks? Would you like to know the answer?" They only have like really one significant one, but it has been involved in a trade. But there is a caveat. Do you want to know what the caveat is?
Yep.
It's top 6 protected.
Mhm.
So they do have a draft pick if their record is atrocious and the
Correct.
ping pong balls go their way.
Correct.
So then it begs the question of, so what is the motive in doing all of this? Well, I guess you look at it and you say, if you shut down Embiid and George for the season, you give Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain a bit more of a run together as their backcourt in a young backcourt doing the normal teething stuff. Let your free agent mercenaries either re-sign up or do that.
Who cares?
And then Cooper Flag comes on thing. Theoretically, you've got 2 bigs that are versatile. Hopefully, Joel Embiid after an entire year and a bit, because he
On
played the
paper.
Olympics.
Now
So he
you're
never
talking
got
about 2025 on paper. Embiid,
2025 on
Paul
paper.
George, fourth option, Maxey, Jared McCain. Let's say he does win Rookie of the Year, and Cooper Flag on paper.
Along with people who could re-sign, like Eric Gordon could just sign up for one more year on the same sort of deal, and he could fill out that roster. Caleb Martin's a decent little pickup. Kelly Oubre seems to like Philly, and he's played there for a couple of seasons. I didn't know where that was going, and 9 times out of 10, I'm never really content with where it landed. But I actually really like this because they have to be thinking like this. They actually have to be thinking like this. It's not as simple as just fantasy prospects, copium for the Philadelphia 76ers. They're currently
David
14th in
Hinkey's
the
sitting
East.
there like this, man.
Yeah, Sam Hinkie, and
Sam
they're
Hinkie.
sitting there. They're sitting at 3-13. They're 1 game above the Wizards, who's got the last spot. If they were to push to the play-in, they actually only need to match the Bulls' record of 7-11, right?
Yeah.
So they basically need to go
I get it.
4-0,
It's the
and
if.
they're
I get it.
It's achievable. But we know that if you end up in the play-in to end up as the 7 or 8 seed, at current you are playing the 17-1 Cavs
What's the
or the
point?
15-3 Celtics. And we know that it's probably not going to pan out. To rush those 2 players back from injury would not be ideal. Is it too early to throw away a season? You would have to have a strong hope that Cooper Flag is there. And the other motive for Cooper Flag, Joel Embiid, to me, I said this about Kawhi Leonard, and it's aging somewhat well, but it's just taking a little bit longer. Joel Embiid has early retirement potential written all over him. Like, it's falling apart quickly for him with his lower leg injuries and his size. And we've seen this with centers in the past. Sometimes they just have to walk away, right? He's got his money. He has his MVP. He's got a huge what if over his career, which to me sometimes is better than other players like, say, Carmelo Anthony, who played a really long time and just never got it done. People don't have a lot of what if for him anymore. It's kind of like he just never got it done. Joel Embiid could retire next year or the year after, multi hundreds of millions, MVP, clearly at the apex when he's healthy, but could never stay healthy. That's a nice career for what's probably going to pan out. I like it. I like it. And the other reason why they probably should throw away the season, bone bruises. They're dangerous. And it's probably worth checking out our other video to learn a little bit more about bone bruises.